Astral Pet Store is an isekai about a character who ends up replacing a young deadbeat pet store owner. He gets a system to assist him in improving his abilities and store. He lives with his sick mom and sister. The world revolves around pets, which have their rank, type, and moves like Pokemon. People can command and also buff their pets in combat. There are hidden realms, or portals to small worlds if you're unfamiliar with the term, where certain types of creatures and resources can be found. The system that the MC gets allows access to a wide variety of hidden worlds for trading and resource collection at somewhat exorbitant fees. The system also upgrades the store and defends the MC while he's in the store. While the MC and the pet are in the system's hidden worlds, MC can pay a fee to get revived or they are booted out when they die. The story seems to take inspiration from Pokemon, since the first pet the story focuses on is an electric rat like Pikachu. The people are also able to cultivate if you're familiar with cultivation, albeit mostly goes into buffing their pets with various effects like increased speed. I would rate this novel a 6 out of 10. If you like an arrogant character or fighting with pets, you should try it out at least. If you're a pet lover or want romance in the story, you should avoid this novel. There will be spoilers after this part, so if you actually want to read it without spoilers, you should do it now. I've read 154 chapters. I've run out of patience to see if the story improves, but so far it gives me very mixed feelings. On one hand, the setting is good, the novel has traits that are very promising. On the other hand, the main character is a sociopath. The story also subverts some cliches, but in a really weird way. As I said, I enjoy the setting in stories that focus on pet combat, especially as a longtime Pokemon player. The types of creatures are solid, the moves make learning about what each creature can do easy, and the story also goes into one type of creature being able to learn moves of another type in the right environment. Very good. Unfortunately, the strength classification makes little to no sense. Pets are classified with their rank from 1 to 10, with 1 being the weakest and 10 being the strongest so far. I'm sure it goes above this soon. However, it ranks it's based on race and average combat potential instead of actual combat power or relative strength. To compare this to Pokemon, this would be like ranking Pokemon based on what you find in the wild, instead of how they can be trained, their movesets, and how they work in a team. The MC system is able to see the power of other pets, but nobody uses that type of rating, so it's pretty pointless, other than showing off just how strong the MC's own pets are. There is some implication that the rank of a pet determines how much power they draw from their trainer, but it's not definitively clarified, so it's just implied. My main nitpick is that there is a creature that is invincible at the 9th rank, so they call it peak 9th rank. It should be 10th rank based on the description of how creatures at the next rank are unbeatable by the creatures below them, but it is not. This could be solved pretty easily by just having multiple pets at the peak of 9th rank, but no. The MC just has to have the best pet in that rank instead of making the ranking system more natural, or making the world more interesting by having multiple pets at the same level. There are a few other ways the novel stands out in a positive way. The system is above average, it has a bit of a personality, and clearly gets offended when the store is insulted. The idea that the trainers also buff their pets is very nice, although it is introduced rather suddenly. I've said the word MC a lot, so let's start focusing on the MC. He's isekai right at the start of the story. You'll forget it, because the author sure does. Whatever, most stories don't use this potential that isekais have, not really a downside. He replaces the deadbeat store owner and takes over the store. There is a bit of an issue here since it's not shown that the MC really wants to be a store owner, but the system pops up to make things easy. The way that the MC trains pets is by having them commit suicide via combat. The pets also develop a fear of the MC due to this method of training. He also later trains some fire pets by kicking them into lava, which kills them. Then the system revives them and the process is repeated. Not exactly appealing if you're an animal lover. MC also has a family consisting of his mom and sister. There are 2 moments in the novel where the MC feels bad about his sick mom, but his actions are contrary to his own thoughts. In the first instance, he thinks about finding a cure for his sick mom. This comes up when he's invited to a hidden world by some side characters, and the thought tips him towards joining them. However, MC has a system with an unlimited number of hidden worlds in the store. he doesn't bother to ask the system about a cure or try to find a world with a cure for his sick mom. In the second instance, he is offended by his bike getting kicked since it was his mom's bike. However, later he mentions how he hates wasting time, conveniently ignoring the fact that he spends an hour on the bike to get to school. Normally this would emphasize how much he cares about the bike, but there just hasn't been enough to really support that. Instead, it just makes it seem like the MC is only pretending to care about the bike, and only acts because he feels like he should. MC also makes a ton of money with the restored pet store, but none of it goes to his family. His family is actually somewhat poor, but he's not trying to help them at all. While the system does convert his money into points to upgrade the store, he can also make money just fine. So it's not like he's being hampered by the system. MC is also incredibly arrogant towards everyone. I get that arrogant characters can be very fun, Regress Demon Lord being a good example. However, the MC's arrogance is the type where he can't be bothered to explain himself, gets in trouble for it, and then questions why people are so stupid and weak. This works great if the story is trying to villainize the MC, but the novel plays it off like the MC is always in the right. Unfortunately, it's not the type of story where the character has flaws and tries to improve themselves. In short, the MC is a character who cares about no one and nothing, but are expected to be right in everything they do. A classic sociopath, but not a fun sociopath. The story also has some cliches that are common in most stories, but it yoinks and twists them. Normally this would be a great thing in the novel, but some of the ways the cliches are handled is just frankly bizarre. Going back to that bike moment, he argues with some students from another school. This is a bit of the young master cliche, although it's a more interesting setting. This would be a big plus normally. However, the MC reacts by bullying the kids with his overwhelming power and heavily injures their pets. Mind you, the MC is supposed to be a new teacher, not a competing student. If he was a student, this would be a more typical young master cliche. As a teacher, however, he should be the bigger person and teach them. Hell, half the reason he even makes the move is to test out a new skill he has, which makes him closer to the evil young master than anything else. The cliche twisted, but instead of an arrogant young master being taught a lesson, it shows the MC as the arrogant young master. In another cliche, the sister is a bit of a tsundere, as shown when the MC gives them a defensive treasure down the road. I like the way the cliche is set up, because the MC's previous body was actually quite a dick to his sister, so the hostility part makes sense. The only problem is, the MC hasn't really tried to improve his relationship at all. Overall, I would say this is a positive twist to the cliche. A little bit later in the story, the MC also joins a group of other trainers into a hidden world. He's in that role where he is more than qualified than he appears, but nobody really believes him. The MC at one point warns the group that he is traveling with of danger, but the group's leader blows him off. And the MC's reasoning is that the beast is behaving weirdly considering the setting, but the group's leader ignores the MC for being new, pretty typical. We, as the readers, don't know if these people should know about the beast or not, or if the MC is credible to the others based on what they know about him, because frankly they don't know much about him. MC then overreacts and escalates the situation by being arrogant, but moments later is unsure of his own conjecture. He only justifies himself once the leader's pet falls in danger and runs away with everyone else. In the next encounter, he acts without informing his team, completely contrary to how he was acting before. MC also antagonizes the leader further in the next area for no real gain, reducing the power of the team. MC is only justified because the author says he is, but realistically, this is just a terrible move on his part. If it wasn't being arrogant to the point of stupidity, this could have played out quite well with people actually believing the MC and learning to trust him. As far as the cliche goes, it subverts it a little bit by having the allies half believe him rather than fully trusting him because they don't know too much, but at the same time they're not trying to antagonize him. Unfortunately, since they made the MC so stupid, he has to antagonize his allies anyways, and it just kinda ends up being the typical cliche, even though it seems like it was going the other way. The MC also gets some OP cultivation techniques down the road. Pretty normal cliche, but the MC becomes strong enough to fight pets himself. Not only does this go against the main appeal of the story, it also reduces any tension the story could have had, since the MC is no longer in danger, where normal characters would be. It's a power fantasy aspect that just reduces the potential of the story. In conclusion, this novel is a few steps away from greatness. Unfortunately, I don't plan to continue reading it since the MC is a sociopath, and the novel always has the MC in the right. It could be really good in the continued chapters, or really bad, but I will not be one to check that cat. Final score 6. Thanks for watching my first video. I know the audio was shit. If you think my takes were too, leave a comment. I'll make my next review on one of my favorite novels that I can't recommend.